Hello all, welcome to Clark Technologies, and we are very happy to announce that we are going to provide a free course for MuleSoft for all the freshers and beginners and who want to learn MuleSoft from scratch. This is entirely free course which we are going to release on day by day basis. So it will be a 30 days course, so it is very helpful for you to learn MuleSoft from scratch. And we have explained this course with the real-time project. We have built a real-time project also. In order to explain that, we have created a couple of files and project code as well. So if you want to get those files and projects, please email us with this subject line, request to share level 1 course file. Also, we have an important announcement that we are planning to release a MuleSoft advanced level 2 course very soon. So in this course, we will be discussing most of the topics of MuleSoft, which will help you very well in order to complete level 2 certification as well as to work on complex real-time projects as well. So I hope you will be enjoying that course as well. So if you want to know more details about advanced level course, please contact us via mobile or email. We will be sharing those details. So without further delay, let's get started. Hello all. Welcome to another video of our 45 days course. Okay, right. So in this video, we will see how we can work with file connector. So we have seen a lot of other things in our previous videos. So as I said, I will create a new configuration file even in this project for file also. But as of now, I just commented this scheduler. You can just go here and go to XML. You will find this. We can just uncomment this. You can just select this line number 7 to 11 and go to source, remove block comment. If you want to use this scheduler, you can do this. This scheduler will come. Why I have commented it, right? When I have implemented or demonstrated other functionalities, even in that case I deploy the same application locally, it will automatically trigger as I have a scheduler, right? So that is why to avoid that, and I didn't change the time cron expression also. This is just for your reference, no? That's why I didn't change. Otherwise I can say like yearly once or monthly once, it won't trigger. But I don't want to change this could be a reference for you, right? So that's why what I have done, I have just right clicked on it and go to XML. This is the complete scheduler code, like from scheduler start tag and end tag, right? From this line number 7 to 11, what I will do, I will select this and I will go to source and add a block comment and save it. This code is available for you in the configuration XML, but it won't be visible here. What you can do, once you get this code, you can go to configuration XML, select this line number of code and go to source and remove block comment. It will remove. You can use it. Okay, this is just a note, right? So let me just close all the other files. Yeah, in today's video we will see about file connector. Okay, so we have a file in some situations or in some projects we will be having a file based integrations, like we need to pick up one file from one particular location, like Excel file, PDF file, JPG file, whatever the file extension it could be. So we need to get the file from one location and we need to do some transformations or modifications or fetch only few data from that file or something related to it. It depends on your requirement. Then we need to move that file data to we can insert it into database, or we need to send that file from one location to another location as it is without any transformations. Like that, we have to work on couple of file operations in our day-to-day projects. But okay, I'll tell you what are the different type of file connectors available. Let me just right click, create a new configuration file, file integrations, demo.xml, right? Okay, so I just created one more thing, one more configuration file. So here, if you can select for file, see this is the file file connector. For file connector, you have many operations. See, once you select file, you have copy, create, directory, delete, list, move. These are all the multiple operations. But apart from this file connector, you have FTP and SFTP. FTP connector is there, SFTP connector is also there. In our practice purpose, in our like training purpose or practice purpose, we will be using file connector, because the file connector is useful for us to play around with the files from our computer in our laptop, from one folder to another folder, or from one, I mean, yeah, one folder to another folder, one drive to another drive, something like that. So we can play multiple files within our computer if it is a file connector. It is local to your particular personal laptop or personal computer. But in real-time projects, we will not going to use the file connector. In real-time projects, it will be like FTP or SFTP. This is all the remote file locations. FTP means file transfer protocol. SFTP means secured file transfer protocol. And even in these two also, we are going to use SFTP only in our real-time projects. Let's select for SFTP. So all the same operations will be available. Whatever the operations available for file, almost same operations will be available for SFTP. Copy, create, delete, list, move, read, rename, write, and all. And even FTP also, there will be same operations. So the difference is to configure that particular connector, we can see some differences, right? So I will explain you the file connector operations in this course for our video, because we will not have the remote file location or SFTP or FTP for our practice purpose. Those are all the Linux based machines. In general, Linux based machines, we have a secured protocol transfer between different Linux based machines in the real-time servers and all. So I'll tell you how we can use this file connector operations in this video. You can use the same way for even SFTP or FTP in your real-time projects. And as I said, SFTP is the one majorly we can use because it is a secured one. So you have to practice the file locally. Then you can apply the same logic over there in the SFTP in your real-time projects. But only slight change between this global connector configuration is there between this file and SFTP. We will see that. So to use any file connector, maybe let's say my requirement is to read a file from one folder. Let's say in D drive, I will create one folder. I can say file operation, and inside this, let me add any file, something. One. This colors JSON file is there. Now I'll just remove this. This is for a previous example. Okay, I'll save this file in that particular file now folder which I have created. colors.json, I can just name it as. Okay, fine. So my requirement is I have a file called JSON file available in this file operation folder. I want to read this file. I want to pick this file from this folder by using MuleSoft, and then I want to move this file or copy this file to some other folder using MuleSoft code. Okay, so for that folder I can say file write. Okay, let's say we have two folders called file operations and file operation and file write. I want to pick the file from this file operation, and I would like to send that file to another location called file write folder. So let's say that is my requirement for now. So to configure that, what we need to do, so we need to first understand which operation you need to use first, and before that you need to first have this HTTP listener to trigger the flow, and we have file specific listener also to trigger the flow. I'll tell you. So on new or updated file, this is also you can use it as a source. See, once you drag and drop on new or updated file as a source, it will be coming into the source of your MuleSoft flow. We may not be used this listener in some cases. What is the use of this on new updated file means you configure the directory here. Whenever a new file is added in this particular directory, it means in this particular folder, whenever a new file is added here, the flow will automatically trigger just like the scheduler. The file will the flow is automatically triggered, and it will read the file from that particular location, directory location, and it will do whatever we configure next in the processes. Okay, so to trigger the file based operations, you have a source operation called on new or updated file. This is also a kind of interview question for you based on file related integrations. So yeah, on new or updated file, what it will do, it will automatically trigger your flow by checking that directory which you have configured here. If any new file or updated file is added to that particular folder, it will automatically trigger your flow and pick the files and process it, right? So before that, let me just delete this. Let's see the normal file read operations to avoid some confusion. Right, so to do that, we can use the HTTP listener only as a source to trigger our flow. I'll just renaming the flow name. Okay, so file read. So I can use the same listener config, but path could be file read. I can say all small letters. Okay, fine. So to read a file first, what you need to use, read operations of file connector. So once you select file, it will show you all the operations. So first thing what we need to do in our current requirement, we need to read the file, get the file from one location and write that file to some other location. So first requirement is read. So I need to read the file. So I drag and drop the read here. So how this could be, I mean, how we can configure this. So let's click on this global configuration. To be frank, nothing is there. You can just click and OK, that's it. And you need to mention the file path here. This is the main configuration. To read the file, you need to mention from which folder and which file we need to read. Okay. To do that, you can browse it from here, because as this is the local file connector, you can select like this. I mean, by browsing this. Otherwise, you should remember that file path. I mean, in SFTP connector, we will remember that file path. We will get the actual file path from your SFTP team. Then you can add that path manually. Okay, right. So let's see how we can configure the same in case of SFTP. We will not be configured right now, but I'll just show you the difference. That's it. So in SFTP also you have read. See, in your real-time projects, you will use SFTP read. In your practice purpose, you will use file read. That you need to remember. And see, for SFTP, you have a global configuration. So here you need to configure the SFTP details. Like it is a kind of server. It might be like a Linux machine or a server. So you need to provide the host, port, username, password, all these details in order to connect to that SFTP. Apart from that, there is nothing change. See, even in file path, you can just add that path here manually. That's it. Only global configuration will change. For file connector, you don't need to do anything. For SFTP connector, you need to configure your global connector by providing the SFTP server host, port, username, password, and other details if required. So only that configuration will differ. Operations and functionality wise, it will be same, right? So I have read this file. I mean, I have configured the read connector to read the file from that particular path. Now my next task would be to write the file. It means to send that file to some other location, right? So in that case, you can select where it should write the file. So file write folder you can select, and yeah, maybe file name, no problem. You can just select the folder name. I mean, you can just give the folder path. That would be fine. I'm just copying the folder path. Okay, that would be fine. Yeah, let's see. There is nothing file in the middle. Yeah, okay. Fine. So let me add couple of loggers here and there to understand after reading, after writing. So maybe file read successfully. File write successfully, I can say. Okay. So let me just save this and let's run this in normal mode. So once you run this, you need to trigger that trigger this flow by using file read get method. So then what will happen, it should read the file from this particular operation folder. This colors.json should be copied to or write to this file write folder. So meanwhile, let's frame this postman collection. Everything is same, only the file path will change. File read, I can say. Yeah, let's wait this to be deployed. So once it is deployed, maybe we can test it. Yeah, it is deployed. So let's run this. Access was denied by the operating system. Okay, this folder is in open. So let's test this now. Access is denied by operating system. But why? Should not. Access denied. This is such a weird error I have seen. Maybe let's try for C drive. D drive is maybe it is expecting access. Let me create new folder here. File read. Let me put this file in the C drive file read. The D drive, let me create one folder called file write. Okay, so this is file hyphen write. Let me just copy this, and this is the write operation. You can change here, and the path read path is file read, right? So let me copy this and configure here. I just changed the drive from D to C. Maybe D it is asking for some admin kind of stuff and all. So let's check now once it is deployed. Maybe let's stop and deploy again. Let's test now. And same. So something it is changed. For our local laptop, it should not be in this case like permissions issues and all denied by the operating system. Something maybe we need to check it from operating system settings or something. But this is how you need to use. It is read, but write for to write the file, it is throwing error. Alright, so let me print the payload here. We'll read successfully and let's try to print the payload. You will get how to read it. Maybe to write the file to some other location, it is throwing error. Or let me try with the file name also. Color dot. I have just added file name also along with the folder path. It is automatically getting deployed. Let's see how it goes now. It is deployed now. Now it throws the, I mean, it will send the response even, and it should display the response here also. Yeah, the mistake here I have done is we need to mention the file name also. I missed that, so that is the thing. Okay, so maybe it will work in D drive also in this case. So you need to mention the file name. Which file name? You can change the file name also, but in general we will give the file name dynamically by appending some time or by appending some any value or something like that. So there is no rule like you should give the same file name from here and there. See, here it is colors.json, here it is color.json I have given. Okay, so you can give any file name, but while configuring this right connector, the right folder along with the folder name, you need to give the file name also. Just remember this. I missed this initially, so that is why it's not working. So now let's go to that folder and see if the file is getting created or not. Obviously it should create. Okay, right. And the C drive file, right, it got created. So just like this, you can use file read and write operations, and it has lot of operations also. File copy, it will copy from one location to another location. It will not delete the file from the read location. Let's see if the file is available here. Yeah, it is available here in the read location. Okay, if you want to just copy it from one folder to another folder, you can use this. And a list means how many files are available in the particular file directory which you have mentioned. Let's say for example, in the file read, let's say I have 2 or 3 files here. If you check for this list operation, it will give you all the list of file names in a JSON format. Okay, and move means, copy means it will copy from one file from C drive to D drive something, but the file exists in both drives, source and destination. But move means it will move the file from the source to destination. From source it will delete, just like we did, I mean, in our phone, in our mobile also we'll do some kind of copy, move and all operations, right? So just like that. And on new updated file, as I said earlier, whenever a new file is added, it will automatically trigger and it will complete the flow execution. Rename, the name itself, it shows we can rename the file. And write, we have already seen. So these are all the major operations in file connector. So the same operations will be there in the SFTP and FTP connectors also, but in SFTP unit, I mean SFTP connector we are going to use in our real-time projects. So you can just practice this file connectors with all the operations. This will be helpful for you to work with SFTP in future. Maybe let's see this on new one also once. So we can give the same, or yeah, now this time we will see this file operation. Alright, this folder we can give D drive file operation. Okay, so then it should write, once the new file is added, it should write the file to the D drive file, right? Maybe this time. Here maybe we can give some, no need usually. Yeah, let's copy that path and let's give any name manually once. Even in this case also we need to provide the file name d colors.json, just to our understanding, D drive. Okay, so now to be frank, no file is available, I mean there is no file in D drive file operation folder. Oh, it is there now. Let me just remove this. Okay, I'll just remove this. In the file operation there is no files. Okay, let me stop this. So now we are not going to trigger this Postman. By using Postman, we are not going to trigger this flow. So now if you deploy this application, what will happen if we have added any file here in this file operation, your flow will automatically trigger and write the file to the destination. Let me add one logger. New file flow started something. Okay, so let's have this logger only as of now. Okay, let's deploy this application. Once this is deployed, then I will place a file into that source folder. Yeah, sorry. So yeah, I didn't trigger this flow. All right. So uh, let me copy the file. This is from C drive. I just copy the file and I'll copy the file here. Let me just minimize this and I'll show you two windows parallelly. Okay. So now what I am going to do in the D drive file operations, I will place the file. Sorry. What is this? See here I placed the file. Immediately when I placed the file, it is triggered. Our flow is triggered. Right, and it is showing log basis multiple times. On new flow is started, on new flow is started. It will write the file to this D colors JSON file write D drive. Don't worry, the file will be write only one time, but it will automatically triggered continuously. So to avoid this, you can do some settings. See frequency this time now we can say like maybe after every 2 minutes or every 2 minutes it will check this source folder. If any new file or updated file is there, it will pick and it will process the file. Like that we can configure. As of now it is 1000 milliseconds now, that is why it is doing like I mean it is checking for every 10 milliseconds or 1 millisecond. Now we have changed it. So once you deploy this, it will take for every 2 minutes. Every 2 minutes it will check for that particular file location. If any new file or update the file is there, it will process. Right. So yeah, now it is deployed. See, now it will not run in that way. We have just changed this to 2 minutes now in the file connector. If you can come down, you will see the frequency here, just like the scheduler we have seen. Okay, in the scheduler also we have fixed frequency operation, and even here also you can give cron expression at what time, daily what time or any specific time it should check for the file or new file or updated file in the source location, and it should pick the file and write to some other location. Like that, based on your requirement, you can configure this on new or updated file also using fixed frequency as well as cron expression. This topic we have already discussed in our scheduler flows. So I hope this is helpful to you. Right? Yeah, it is throwing error because I changed this to cron, but I didn't give the any cron expression. So let me just leave it fixed frequency as it is, and I'll just give 2 minutes. You can just play around with the different options. I hope you understand how to work with file operations, right? So yeah, that's it for this video. In our next video, we will see any another topic of our course. Thank you. Please do practice. Hello all. So we have seen couple of routers, scopes and all in previous videos. So in this video we will discuss about scatter gather, okay, which is one of the most important router, and which is very useful if in case like if you have any requirement like to process any requirement in parallel. And another name for the scatter gather is multicasting. Okay, just 1 minute. Another name of this scatter gather is parallel processing or multicasting. Sometimes it is, yeah, it is called with the different names. Okay. So what is the use of this scatter gather means if you would like to process multiple logics or multiple flows parallelly instead of doing sequentially one by one, if you want to cascade same input data to multiple routes. Say for example, in our hospital, if you can say hospital as an example, so once we registered as a patient in our reception, our same patient data like our mobile number, our name, our age, our weight, height, all this basic information will be sent to the lab. It will be sent to the doctor room, and the same data is sending to that maybe if in case of operations or something there, and the same data will be sent to pharmacy of that particular hospital and all. So if you would like to send same data parallelly, not one by one, parallelly, like at a time, if you would like to send same data parallelly for multiple routes or multiple flows or multiple endpoints, you can use scatter gather. Okay, let me create one more configuration file. Scatter gather demo .xml. Okay, so now maybe I'll just use one HTTP listener as usual, and connector you can use the same thing, and path scatter just for our understanding. Okay, all right, or else let me take this as a post request. So go to advanced because we will send some payload from postman. Okay, then the same data you can send it to multiple routes. Okay, so I'm just opening postman for the safe side. So this is the postman. I'm just framing the request because we have not yet implemented, but just I just wanted to show you something. So that's it. So it is a scatter, and port is 8089, right? Yeah. Right. So now http://localhost:8089/ scatter. This is your flow. So this is the post request. We will send some body, post body also in form of JSON. Maybe can we use the same like that colors example which we have seen earlier. Where it is. I've captured this somewhere. That's okay. We can take any JSON example. Google. I mean from Google. Yeah. Okay. Again, I took the colors from here only. Okay. Fine. But this should require that quotations and all, right? So let me just add the quotations to make this JSON format. And value also in double quotation. Right now it is a perfect JSON. So once we send the JSON here from this postman request in the postman body, our requirement is to cascade this like, I mean, we need to send the same data to multiple routes. So first let's add the logo. Okay, let me add the scatter gather. You can search it for, it's a core component, so we no need to add any module. So let's drag and drop the scatter gather. See here, this is also one of kind of router, but here also you don't see the default block. Only for choice router you will find the default block. If something is not condition is satisfied, that will execute the default block. But in scatter gather or any other routers, you will not see anything. So let's add couple of loggers to make multiple routes. So once you have this black line, just drag here. So I have added 2 routes, 3 routes. So what I can do, I'll just print the payload first. Okay, so let's see what I mean how the payload is cascading, something like that. Okay, so router 1 payload. Sorry, it's not router, route 1. That will be very route 2 payload. So here also you can change it to route 1, and in the third router it's route 3 payload. So the same payload we are sending here with for multiple routes, and now we will see how these multiple routes will execute in the debug mode. After this scatter gather, I'll add one more logger here. Sorry, where it has gone. It has added one more route, so let me just take it out. So before scatter gather, after scatter gather, I have added one logger, and we have 3 routes. And even in 3 routes also we have only 3 what is this loggers here. But let's add some payload, set payload for each and every route to understand the difference, how the result payload will looks like. So after this here, after the scatter gather, also I would like to print the payload, but this time it will be a response. Now this time I will print payload. So here when I print payload, what happened? Okay. So here once I print the payload, it will be combined of this all these three routes, and here it will print the payload by resulting, I mean gather means aggregating all the response. So what I can do here in the route 1, instead of the normal payload, let me add some different payloads for each and every route. Okay, so let me take another JSON examples. I would like to see a simple JSON so that it will be easy for you to understand. Okay, yeah, let me take this. This is one JSON, right? So this is the payload for the route 1. Okay, and for the route 2, maybe let's take maybe this part. This is route 2 payload. And for route 3, we can paste the same, and maybe I can just change it. Route 3 ID is 333 and it is 23. Something like this. Okay, so now what happened, I have just sent one payload to scatter gather. After each and every payload, I mean after in each and every router, I have this input payload, and then I have changed the payload to some other thing. Then after the scatter gather, I have printed the payload. Now let's see what will be available after the end of the scatter gather, right? So it's always if you want to learn any new thing, it's always better to run in debug mode. That is my always suggestion. Always I would like to suggest the same thing. Okay, so run this in debug mode. Debug as Mule application. So once this is deployed, then maybe we can test, we can trigger it, and we can see how it goes. Okay. Let me pause the video until unless it is deployed. Once it is deployed, then I will resume it. Yeah, so it got deployed in debug mode. Now let's run and see how it works. You can ignore these logger messages because we have, I mean, this is related to new file flow started something. We have another flow also, right? We have discussed that file connector and all. So this logger is related to that. Maybe you can ignore this. I'll just clear it. Okay. So let me run this scatter. Hmm? Refused. Okay, it is not coming here. Okay, let me see what happens. Scatter. What is the port? 8089. Then why it is not accepting? Sorry, I have given wrong port. 8089. Sorry. Yeah. Now, yeah, it will go. Yes. Debug perspective. So if you can see this perspective, it just entered into the logger. So the logger is displayed, and at this time the payload is the complete payload which we have sent through the postman request of the post method. I mean postman body. Right. So now let's go to next processor. Now it is executing the route 1. Remember, it is executing route 1 first. See, it is not executing the next connector in the route 1. It is executing another route 2 logger. and it is executing route 3 logger. It is not completing the next step. It means like the same payload will scatter to the 3 routes parallelly. These 3 routes are doing parallel execution now. Once we click next, then each and every subconnector of the another routes also executing one by one. Now all are executing. Now it will come out of the logger, right? And now we need to see all these 3 loggers, what it displayed. Right, so okay, there is no change so far. But yeah, we did a mistake. Like after setting this payload, we need to display the logger also, right? So I didn't display that. So that is why in this 3 loggers, it is I need to at least change this logger to after set payload. So that is why for all the 3 loggers, you will get see route 1 is the I mean the main key, the route key. It is generated, and then inside that it will print the exact payload. Route 2 same payload, route 3 same payload, because the same payload is scattered for 3 loggers here, and we have set different payloads here. So once we executed this logger, once we click next in the mule debugger, what will happen here? Also we are displaying the payload, but after scatter. So at this logger, yeah, okay, intentionally I click this. I mean, I have kept this 3 loggers. Okay, so these 3 loggers, it is having the same payload of the initial logger which we have sent. But at the end of this scatter gather, after this scatter gather, this end logger will have different payload by combining all the payloads created from these 3 routes. Okay, let's see that logger. So, what happened? Okay, see. Hmm. It is displaying attributes and everything. Maybe we can minimize that. It's okay, I'll try to explain this, but 1 second. See, this is the log after the scatter gather scope. What happens? Let's see. See, after scatter gather, and it is 0. 0 means first route. And remember that the route numbers will start from 0. It is a array. It will take it as an array. So array indexes are starting from 0, not from number 1. So that is why for first route it is showing 0. So for 0 route, you can observe the payload. What is the payload? Which we have set in our set payload. Okay. So you can ignore the remaining things. Remaining is another logger information attributes and all. You can just come down and see here this is the another router. 1 second router. Right, so for second router the index is 1, and if you can see the payload, this is the payload which we have set it up. Okay, so now the third router means the index is 2, and for this the payload is a different one which we have modified by using the set payload transformer. So like this scatter gather, you can ignore this last logger. So like this scatter gather will work. It will combine all the payloads of the 3 routes into an array of objects, and it will give you index wise output. So what will happen if any of the route having some issue? Maybe I'll just add one data view here. Okay, so it will combine only payload, and I'll just transform this to JSON. I'll print a payload. So you can get this as a response in the postman itself instead of getting this routes and all. I mean this information, you will get the exact response. Okay, so maybe let's run this once. Will it deploy automatically? So to see the response in the postman, I just added the data view, and I have just mentioned it is JSON data of the payload. So let's see how you will get the response. Okay, might be we need to redeploy this. It is not started a hot deployment. So let me run this in debug mode again. So let's wait this to be deployed. And we need to see one more thing also. What will happen if any of the route throws the error? If it continue execution of the another flows, another routes, or it will stop the execution, that scenario also we need to see. So first let's see how we will get the response in the success scenario. Then we will, we will actually raise an error in any of the route. Then we will see how it works. Let me click yes to enter into the debug perspective. So it is still deploying. So it is deployed. Let's trigger this now. So it is in the logger. Even now it will execute parallelly. See one, it will do each component of the each route. Now even in the logger it will display the same thing. But let's see the response. See here you can observe carefully. See this is the 0. 0 means first route. This information is related to the first route. Okay, and 1. 1 means the second route. And here what is the payload? See, this is the actual payload of this route. I mean the second route. And index 2. Here it will, you can understand clearly. That's why I displayed it. So for this is the third route, but the index is 2. Here the payload of this particular response is this one. You can eliminate the remaining response. You can do the data view map and all, but I just wanted to show you the default one. So, okay, this is the payload for the third route because we have modified all the responses here, right? I think now you got to know how it will combine the responses of 3 routes. It means scatter, gather. Scatter means it will split, it will not split, it will distribute the same data to the all the routes, but at the end of the scope, see this black box is related to this scope of the scatter gather. So after this, say if you drag and drop anything, it will come. Scatter gather means next gather, it will gather the information of all the 3 routes and it will send you the combined response at the end of the scope. So this thing you need to remember. Now we will see, we will raise any error in any of the route. Let's see how it will behave. Right, so to raise the error, maybe I can use validation module again. So payload is number, maybe we can say, but here the payload is not number, right? So it should throw error. So is number, the value is payload, and the number type you need to select, it is integer. So what I am checking here, the second route payload, this payload should be a number. If it is number, it should go through. If it is not a number, it means the payload here. So what is the payload here which we have given? It is a JSON payload. It cannot check the complete JSON payload is a number or a string. This validation module, it will not check. We need to give at least one, what is that, one field. Maybe we can do in this way, payload dot name we can give. So the name, it is string, but we are checking with number. So the name value doesn't match with number. So it will throw an error, right? So let me add that payload dot name. Sorry, it should be dot. So payload dot name. So we are checking that if payload dot name is number, then it will go through. If it is not number, it should not go through. It should raise an error. Obviously, in our case, we will expect this is an error because the payload dot name value is blue. This one. This is a text. This is not the number. So it will obviously throw an exception. So let's see how it will behave in case of this exception. Here it means the scatter gather route. So it will execute the complete remaining routes, or it will throw an error. How it will behave, let's see. Let me stop this and let me deploy this again. As we are running it debug mode, it is very clear as to understand how everything works, how the execution happen in the background. If you run it in normal mode, it is little difficult to understand, but that is what, like, if you want to learn anything, if you want to practice anything, try to run this in debug mode by putting some debugging points here and there. Okay. Right, so I am deploying it again. Let me wait this to be deployed, then we will continue. Okay, let's run this. Let's go to studio. Yeah. So now let's see how it will behave. So all the three routes loggers are executed one by one. Then all the set payloads are executed one by one. But now it throws an error. See, blue turquoise is not a valid integer value. So this is an exception. So now it will execute the remaining one or not. Let's see. So let's click next. It throws an error. So even though if this throws an error, all the three routes are executed. Okay, but it will throw that error saying that. So and remember that the sorry, one second, it got closed. And remember one thing, it will not execute all the other components outside the scatter gather scope. It will execute all the three routers, even though if this is an error. It will not stop the execution here. Okay, maybe let's say in this way. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. I think, yeah. I thought some show you, but this is very much clear, better than that. Okay. So even though if any error occurred in the any of the route, it will execute all the routes inside that scope, but it will not execute the components or connectors which is available outside of scatter gather. We have seen it clearly just now, right? So then what will happen? How the response will be, how the error response will be. Let me just maximize this, and maybe in the postman also you will not receive. See here you will receive an error like route 1 is throwing error. Exceptions were found for routes. So for which route it is the exception? Route 1. Route 1 means here as per the index it is this route. In our case, in general purpose, we can think like this is route 1, this is route 2, this is route 3. But programmatically, all the routes is an array of objects. So it will start the indexes from 0, 1, 2, which I have already told you. Right? So here in this case, route 1 means what? This is the route 0, this is the route 1. So here it is throwing an exception. That is what it is, complaining here. And even that exception detail also it is showing here. So blue is not a valid integer value. So that is the thing, that is an exception. Even in here in the console also you can see the same exception. Caught exception in exception strategy. Blue is not a valid integer value. Route 1. Route 1 means here the second one. Right? So this could be an interview question sometimes, like if any error is happening in the one of the route, how the scatter gather will behave. We can say like it will execute all the routes inside the scatter gather, but after that it will throw an exception with the route number or route index. It will send an error response with the route index, something like this, route 1, with the exception details. You can say in this way, but it will not execute any components after this scatter gather scope. It will execute all the routes inside that scatter gather. It will send a response, error response at end of the flow with the route number clearly. It is route 1, it means the second one, and even the exception is also it is showing clearly. This is the error. Once you clear this, maybe you can say instead of name you can check with id. Id is 6 is integer, so it will pass. So it will go through the remaining components after that scatter gather scope. Right, I hope you got the idea about how the scatter gather will work. It will do the parallel processing of all the routes, and it will distribute the same payload or copy of the same payload. You can understand in that way. It will not distribute, it will send the copy of the same payload to all the routes. So that is why even in all the three loggers we have seen the same input payload which we have sent here through Postman. Right? Sorry, I got. This is route 3. Route. Accidentally it got moved to route 3. So that is why in here in this loggers we have seen the same payload. Even in the logger we have seen all the same payload for all the three loggers, because but it will add some index. It will add some index, but the inside that payload is same payload. This index means like this is not the index added by default. This we have added in our logger, this route 1 and all. If you can remove this, it will directly print the payload only. This we have added it, so don't get confused. Okay. So this text we have added, that is why it is added that text, and inside that it will print the payload. This payload of this particular logger is nothing but the actual payload we have sent to the scatter gather component. So that is why all the three loggers will print the same payload which we have sent through this postman. So this is the actual payload. Scatter gather will send the copy of payload to three routes. And then if you do some processing on top of your input payload, or you have added something here, it will combine all the three responses after the scatter gather response. We have seen this in our positive case when we executed earlier. So in case of any error of any of the route, it will execute all the three routes, but the error it will throw separately by sending that route number, route index, and with the exception details. So this is how scatter gather will work. If you in your project, if you have any requirement like to process the any 3 or 4 functionalities parallelly, you can go with this scatter gather, right? So I hope this is useful for you. You learned something about this scatter gather. Thanks for watching. Let's meet in another video of our course with another topic. Thank you.